Hey, what's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Slightly Warped Podcast. I'm Rick, joined as always by Big Show. Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm all right. I'm on the right side of the dirt. So what's
That's
more
right.
win?
It's been a couple weeks since we did an episode, so
Nobody missed us.
I think maybe five or six people did.
I doubt it.
Hey, this is y'all's chance. If you missed us, leave a thumbs up on this if you're watching on YouTube. So, how's your week been so far, man?
It's going okay. Could be better, but it's going all right.
Same. Uh, I don't know what y'all's weather's doing where you're at, but it's starting to rain out here. All right, welcome to April. Uh,
Yep.
but
April showers bring May flowers,
that's what they say.
and
And
May
if that
flowers
holds true,
bring June bugs.
right? That's what's up. Okay, for all you that are looking at the thumbnail, we are going to get to the screen murders, aka the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart. But before we get to that, Big Show, you wanted to open up with something.
Yes, it's one of those stories that I heard about, and I was like, we got to talk about this on our podcast. We can
Okay.
go in, we can go in deeper. But have you heard of the guy? Hold on, I'm looking at his name. What's his name? Do. I forgot his name. Mm-mm-mm. His last name is Dayton Weber. Have you heard of him?
That name does not sound familiar.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen,
Okay.
and I apologize. I'm not trying to make anybody laugh or be insensitive. So this cat,
Okay. Now I know who you're
so
talking about.
this cat right here is the world national cornhole champion. He has no arms and he has no legs,
That's
which
right.
is
He's a quadruple amputee.
which is a feat in itself.
Hmm.
But this gentleman has been arrested for murder because he shot somebody in the face
Shot. You mean with a gun?
with a gun while he was driving. See, the story
Okay.
just keeps on giving.
I, I'm not trying to make fun of the situation, but did I hear you right? Shot while driving. He shot somebody while he was driving.
He was driving. The person was attacking him that was sitting in the passenger seat, allegedly. He fired his gun while driving in self defense and killed the person because he shot him in the face.
Okay, there is so many things to unpack here.
We'll
The
discuss this.
driving thing alone, let's start there.
Yes.
I want to know how that's possible. And to drive whilst holding a gun and pulling the trigger. That, now, I know today's April 1st as of recording. Please tell me that you're not going to say April Fools right after this.
No, it is not April Fool's. This is actually ESPN right here. I just pulled it up. But he says he's a quadruple amputee player facing murder charges and intends to argue that he acted in self-defense when he shot a passenger in his vehicle last week.
Wow. I got nothing, bro. I got nothing. Um, if I'm part of a jury, this dude's getting off just because he completed, a feat that probably can never be duplicated.
He ain't complete no feet. He ain't got any.
That was cold. True, but cold.
Man, when I heard this off the Jim Rome show, and the amount of jokes that they put on this cat was
Oh, if you
hilarious.
heard it off of Rome, yeah.
But just the fact that this man has no arms, no legs, he's a cornhole champion, and he was able to drive a vehicle and still murder somebody with a gun. And there's videos. His daddy taught him how to hunt. and so he's a marksman. He's a good shooter.
What is he using to pull the trigger?
That's for a whole nother show. That's for that's for slightly warped after dark.
All righty then.
But I figured I had to say something before I forget about it. I wanted to, it's a story that we must follow up on as it progresses. And no, this is not April Fool's. That is a true story.
Okay, we will definitely follow up on this because just out of curiosity, I gotta, hear all the details on this and see what's gonna come of it. And yeah.
I
Um
figured I would get that kind of response from you, so that's
I
why I got.
just I just pictured bro in the orange jumpsuit along the floor going to the prison yard. What are you in for? Murder. And everybody looked like how?
Look, I stopped making excuses for shit that I couldn't do after I read that article. So
Hey, that you said it right there. We got no if he can cornhole champion, driving, shooting. Like, there's no more excuses for us, bro. No more.
zero.
All right. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of today's topic. It's a true crime Thursday, and it's about the Scream Killers. And if you guys aren't familiar with them, we'll get you familiar with them. And I went down the rabbit hole. There is a wealth of things on YouTube, Hulu, a couple other places alone for this topic. It's the murder of Cassie Jo Stoddart, and she was a high schooler murdered by two high schoolers. This would have been September of 2006. She was 16, so she was a junior, and she was a victim of what they call a thrill killing. Uh, and this was in Idaho, right, Big Show?
Let me
Um,
double check. I think that's right. Yeah.
yeah. Now,
Pocatello, Idaho.
okay. Now, Stoddart's body was discovered 2 days after she was murdered when her relatives returned home from their trip. So apparently, she was house sitting. The murderers were uh, Brian Lee Draper and Torey Michael Adamcik or Adamcik. I don't know how to pronounce it. I think it's Adamcik.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Apparently, they were all high school friends, but these guys were. You think we're warped? They are warped. They had video of them talking about how they were going to do it, planning it. Um, they really wanted to mimic, and this is why they call them the Scream Killers. They wanted them to mimic. Um, what's the is that the Ghostface Killer that they call it?
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah,
these are the killers right here.
yeah. Thank you.
And this is
And
the young lady that they murdered.
yeah, that's Casey Joe. Um, yeah, so the purpose did claim that they were inspired to murder Stoddard by the slasher film Scream, which that's the reason why they have their nickname. They actually had a death list of potential victims, and long story short, if you're wondering what became of these guys, they received life imprisonment without the possibility of parole in 2007. Um,
So Brian, he seemed to be like a little slow. As you listen to the interrogation, he's the one that actually confessed first.
mhm.
And when I was watching the documentaries, I always thought that the other kid was the ringleader.
The mastermind.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I'm tending to lean that Brian was the actual mastermind.
So he's like a Kaiser Cersei.
Yeah, just kind of like because I think they fed off each other. They were outcasts, um, didn't do well with girls, couldn't make friends. Brian, he had that severe stuttering problem.
Yeah.
So people made fun of him. Uh, the other kid, what's his name? I just had it up there. What was his name?
Oh, one of them is Brian, and one of them is Torey.
Okay, so Torey was an avid horror flick film, so he collected all the horror flicks and all that. And then Brian never was into that until he met Torey. But yeah, these kids decided to, like you say, create a kill list. They actually hunted and scoped out other girls in their school to get their routine and what they were planning, to kill. I forget how many. It was quite a few of them, and
Yeah, they have a list.
they were all quote unquote not friends, but acquaintances. Like
Yeah.
everybody in the school knew who Brian and Tori were. They were the weird ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but they videotaped the before and the after of the murder. They even taped the girl the day of while she was at her locker. Very sadistic stuff.
Yeah. For Casey Joe, the two weapons that killed her were a dagger and a hunting knife.
Now her name's actually Cassie.
Cassie, I said Casey, didn't I? I'm sorry. Cassie.
Right, and that's one reason that they talk about the Scream murders is because the very first Scream movie, the first girl that gets killed, Drew Barrymore character, her name is Casey.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's how they tied that in. Cassie was the first one because it sounded so familiar to Casey when they were trying to link those in. And I
Now I
guess
will.
what they did in the attack is they knew that this girl was house sitting for her aunt, I believe it
Yes.
was.
Yes.
And it's set out in this little wilderness, wooded, dark area. I wouldn't necessarily say country. I mean, I haven't been to Idaho, so, but it wasn't like, in a rural area or a suburban area where there
Yeah.
was houses right next door. But she invited her boyfriend over,
Uh-huh.
and her boyfriend and him were there, and then Brian and Tori came over to watch some movies.
Right.
So Brian and Tori were there with them, and they knew they were there. While they were there, uh, I think the girl's boyfriend kind of gave him a house tour, and when they were downstairs, the
Yeah.
killers unlocked the door so they could get back in. They ended up leaving. They came back, and the boyfriend was still there. So they started trying to scare because they were going to kill the boyfriend too.
Yes.
And because if you remember in the first part of Scream, in the original movie, they did kill Casey and her boyfriend. The boyfriend was the first one to go outside by the pool. He was tied up. So they were going to kill both of those kids. So that like they used the fuse box to turn the lights off and on. They broke some glass to try to make them come down and see what's going on. But those kids, seen a lot of scary movies, were like, I ain't going down there.
Yeah.
But the boyfriend's parents called and said, hey, we're on our way to pick you up. And they came and picked the boy up and left. And then now Cassie was all at home.
Now back up real quick, because this is what I got from when I was watching one of the documentaries. He asked her, he asked his parents if he could just stay the night with her because she wasn't she was afraid of being alone there. They said
Correct.
no. They actually countered it though and said she can come stay with us.
Yes.
And she refused because she felt loyal to the aunt and uncle. She wanted to make sure she was there the whole time if she was going to house sit. And
Yes.
that's what caused her to stay there.
Yes. That's true. Yes, thank you. But then after he left, they went upstairs and they kept trying to scare her, but they ended up going upstairs, had masks, and I think they stabbed her quite a few times, like over 30 or 40 times.
Mhm.
Um, and then they meet, so like they play on this documentary, the actual VHS recording of them before and then the immediate after, and how excited these two young men were about how they just killed this girl and how exhilarating it was. Um, yeah, a couple of sick individuals.
Very sick. And now it says here that the boyfriend of Stoddart's mother was initially considered a person of interest after his fingerprints were found on the circuit breaker door in the basement, uh, where the lights had been tampered with in the lead up to the murder. However, he provided a reasonable explanation for this discovery, as he had done electrical work at the Contreras residence a few months prior to the murder. Yeah, see that part I did not know. I didn't know he had been. That's why he gave her the tour. I mean, gave the boys the tour because he'd been in the house before himself. Um, I just think it's real creepy. And I had heard the term thrill killing before, but I never really, came across anything like this. Usually, when we talk about any kind of like murders or whatever, there's something behind it. Somebody's mad at somebody. Somebody might, well, these boys obviously had a mental problem, but to be doing it just for a thrill, just because you saw it on a movie, that's a whole new level of disturbed.
Right. And, they plan on doing a lot more damage. I mean, but they were stupid. Like, as I was watching, I was like, man, if y'all, so what their whole alibi is that when they were there with the girlfriend and the boyfriend, they said, hey, we're going to go to a movie. And that's why they left. But
Mm-hmm.
they came back and snuck back in the house. They did buy tickets to the movie, but the fucking kids did not go watch the movie. Like they didn't watch the movie the day before. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah,
how they did, because that was the one thing that the detectives were like, "Well, tell me about the movie. What was it about?" Because the detectives went and watched the movie to make sure these kids were telling the truth, and they didn't have no idea that they were the killers. They just knew that they were one of the last people that seen Cassie alive because they were at the house watching movies. But in my mind, I was thinking, this is how dumb they were. They should have went to go see the movie 2 or 3 days beforehand, and then, if he was going to do that, use that as an alibi.
yeah, that was
Just
messed
stupid. I
up.
mean, and then plus I guess they went and buried the clothes they were wearing, the mask, the VHS tape, the glove, or the knives and all that. Tried to set it on fire, but it didn't damage anything, and they pretty much recorded their own crime, and it was a pretty open and shut case.
Yeah, the only part of the case that I wondered about, there was a civil suit by Stoddart's family against the school, saying that they should have known that Draper and Adamcik posed a threat to others, in which the case was dismissed. Which you can't put
How
that
would
on
the
the
school know
school.
that? How would the
Exactly, you
school?
can't put that on the school. That's the reason why it was dismissed.
I mean, it's not
I
like
mean,
that this hit list was something that was out there for everybody to see. They didn't find it till well after these guys were already being convicted of what they did.
yeah, I mean, you hate to see that happen to young people, especially. I mean, you hate to see it happen to anybody, but young people. These are people that haven't even begun to live their lives yet. Um, and let's roll back to the boyfriend. Had his mother simply said, yes, okay, we're not going to come get you, he would not be here anymore either. So now you're talking about somebody who probably has a bad case of survivor's guilt.
Say that again.
The boyfriend, I'm
Mm-hmm.
sure he has a bad case of survivor's guilt because
Because
had his mother said, yes, you can stay with her, he would be dead too.
oh yeah, or if she would have said, if Cassie would have said, "Hey, yeah, I'll go with you guys."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that's gotta hurt, man. That's got to go pretty deep.
Well, they did think the boyfriend had something to do with it at first because he left and thought
Yeah.
that it was a setup, so to speak. But obviously that wasn't the case. Yeah,
No.
it's and this goes back to, you know, how people like to blame video games and movies for these types of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, would these kids have actually done it the way they did it if Scream was never created? I mean,
Probably not.
a
I
good question.
mean,
Like, would they? Yeah, I'm not saying it wouldn't stop them from killing somebody, but would they have done it like that? You know what I mean?
this was the movie that they idolized. This was the movie that made them think that way. Had it been something else, you're right. It probably would have been a different way.
Right.
If it
So,
wasn't Scream, it would have been Halloween or Freddy Krueger, whatever it was, at that time.
yeah.
So, and nobody can see it coming. Just like we said, the school had nothing to do with it. Nobody could see that kind of thing coming.
Well,
All you can do, keep your head on the swivel. Um,
that's where I would
trust nobody.
that's where I would disagree, so to speak. Like, I know my kids, if some, so I know my daughters because they're scary kids. I
Uh-huh.
put the fear of the world into them so they would ask questions. Trust your gut. Your gut's never wrong. If it
Right.
tells you that somebody is off, believe it. If it tells you to leave, listen. It's never going to lie to you. Now, my youngest daughter, Lexi, she's a little bit more gullible than my oldest daughter. My
Uh-huh.
oldest daughter is super scary. Like, anything's off, she listens and goes. She's kind of, she'd be like, "What's that noise?" But she wouldn't go check it out. But my thing is, if she was that scared, my kids, they probably would said, "Hey, Dad, can you come over and see what's going on?" You know what I mean?
Yes.
And have an adult come down there that maybe I would have got killed if I was a dad, but they did. She'd be alive. You know what I mean? Type
Yes.
of thing. So, I have to call you back, dude. Um,
And that's
so
what I mean when I say keep your head on the swivel. Know
yeah,
what's going
sure.
on around you. And you got to be aware of your surroundings, no matter what age you are. Anything from anybody can come out from anywhere.
Yeah, but see,
And
that's a little different though when you're in a safety of your own home. You're not necessarily got your house on a swivel
right, right. I
or
mean,
your home, not the house, but your head on a swivel.
yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. It's just here's my I hate the
There's
fact that
another
she was
show on
so
TV. There's another show on TV on ID. It's called uh, "My Child is a Murderer" or something like that.
really.
And it's basically talking to the parents of kids that have grown up to either become serial killers or have actually thrill killed or whatever. And you'd made that statement a while ago about, there's never nobody really knows or you can't never tell. These parents all seen the signs and ignored them. So I'm
Mm.
sure there were signs that these young men that their parents just kind of ignored.
Now, I'm not sure about the dates. Correct me if I'm wrong. This was
Mhm.
around the time of Columbine or shortly
Shortly
after.
after, yes.
Yeah.
Short
So, and that ties back into your original question. If there was no Scream movies, what would they have done? They probably would have mimicked that too. I mean, it, there's a lot of it out here,
Oh
and
yeah.
it's easy
I
for
mean,
kids to see.
because of Columbine, I mean, there've been a lot more school shootings, because
Yes.
people want to mimic that.
Yeah. And we are in a world now where our kids are not safe.
Nobody is.
Nobody. Yeah. But
You and
I'm,
I
I'm,
aren't safe.
oh God, no, nobody is like you said. It's just that, you know, 30 years ago, I was younger, dumber. I didn't care. Now I'm a father and, I care about my boys and I want to know where they're at all times. And because of the things that are happening in this world, makes me even more concerned. My oldest is in his 20s, but I still worry.
Oh yeah,
So,
you better stop worrying. You
no,
better
you
stop.
don't.
I knew we lived in different times when my kid, when we was in kid, we had fire drills, we had tornado drills, and that was about it. The kids nowadays have fire drills, tornado drills,
And shut down
active
drip.
shooter drills. It's
Yes.
like, when my grandbaby's telling me how they have to do in case of an active shooter, they're really sobering.
I worked in a school and I witnessed several of those drills. I mean, when that alarm goes off and that announcement's made, classrooms doors are closed, locked. Uh, if there's shades on the glass, they're closed. Uh, there's no specific procedure once in the classroom, but they make damn sure that whoever you are, you have no need, no business, anything at all to be out in the halls. Even if you're far away from your room, you get to the first available room, you get there and stay there. And that's the way they ran these drills. And they take it very seriously too. Uh, Now, living out here in Stafford, Kansas, I don't want to say we're less likely to have something like this happen because it can happen, like I said, anywhere, anytime. But I'm comfortable enough to know that the school where my child goes annually prepares for these kind of things in the event that something does go wrong. But also,
You're talking about active shooter, right? You're not talking about a thrill kill.
yeah, active shooter. But the reason why I bring it up, even though they have the drills, they perfect the drills or as close as they can, being on the outside in, I can see the holes in the plan because if there's an active shooter, they can still get to you. It is very unfortunate. I don't care if the door's locked. I don't care if the windows are closed. They can still get to you. Um, I don't know how it is for a lot of the schools around where you are, but most of them are mostly glass on the outside. You know, you can get you can get into any school that you want to, even if the doors are locked. They're usually double or triple doors with a lot of glass. So if somebody wanted to get in, they can get in. And 30, no, not 30, 35, 40 years ago, we didn't have to worry about that as much. Now, it's sad to say, it's damn near commonplace. And not just active shooters, thrill killers, um, crime across the board. Uh, I know we've been talking about, murders, but crime is crime. And
Oh
this is
yeah.
the true crime part of the podcast. Uh, People are just more, I don't want to say susceptible, but at the same time, criminals are getting bolder. It's like it I don't want to say there are no consequences. They just feel like there aren't any consequences. And that is the shadow that is put over the society.
Yeah, and I think with like AI, social media, the type of technology we have, it is so easy to feed people's hatreds, no matter what they hate, whether it be racial, whether it be gender, whether it be sexual orientation, whether it be political party denomination, religious belief, whatever, you know. I think that's the problem is there's so many people willing to feed into those said hatreds that it keeps the division, to where
Yeah.
people are more likely to go out and shoot up a school or church or shoot the Democrat that's running for the governor, Charlie Kirk,
Hmm.
those types of people who have a platform, whether you agree or disagree with them, you know, it, there's always something that feeds into things that uh, give people the push, I guess, to act out violently.
Yeah. It is crazy. We are living in crazy times. And you mentioned AI. Um, I know how you say AI can make people do crazy things. I actually believe also AI can help people to get away with crazy things.
Yeah, yeah. But when
Um,
I say not make them, but um, feed into whatever they're
yeah.
hate. Yeah, not make them, but feed
Well,
into their.
that's what I mean when I say make them. It won't physically make them, but yeah, feed into it. Um, it is bad out there, y'all. It's very bad. Anyway, real quick, everybody listening on whatever platform you're listening on, um, let us know what you think about these screen murders or screen murder, as fortunately, though they were dumb enough to get stopped before it went any further. Otherwise, they would have went down that list.
And
And
I know we're not getting paid by him, but the documentary is actually called The Scream Killers or The Scream Murders. It's one of the two, but it's on Hulu. It's three
yeah,
episodes. They're about an hour long. It's definitely worth watching.
yeah, and that's why I kept saying murders plural on here, even
Right.
though we were just talking about Cassie. Um, if you guys have any questions, comments, or anything, hit us up. If you're on YouTube, obviously in the comments. If you're listening on a podcast feed, depending on the podcast feed, you can comment there. If not, email us, the slightly warped podcast at yahoo.com. I check that all the time and I try to respond to anybody and everybody. Next week, going a little bit lighter, but we're still hitting heavy. I'm talking about religion in sports. Um, Big Show, do you have anything before we get out of here?
No, not besides our little cornhole guy. We're gonna follow that. Hopefully he'll roll into a conviction. Um, I'm going to hell. I'm going to hell. Hey, thank you guys for tuning in. Sorry I've been gone for a couple weeks, but life happens. So we'll see
Absolutely.
you next time. Love each other. Tomorrow's not promised. I'm ready for the sunshine.
I know that's right. And I'm gonna leave y'all with this because Big Show made me do it. If you have arms and you have legs, you have no excuse. Good night, everybody.
Hero.